When I watched Wilt Chamberlain, listen, he got still over 60-some NBA records that would never be broken. The guy averaged 50 and 30 rebounds a game for one season.
What Wilt Chamberlain was able to do, a 100-point game in that entire 62 season that he had when he averaged, it seems incredible now to think he averaged 50 points.
Yeah, 25 rebounds. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Times were different.
It's a credit to what a physical specimen he was.
Well, you know, as formidable as Shaq was physically, Wilt was all of that.
So, my impressions of Wilt is that everything you had done, he had done better.
Wilt he's one of those guys could have played in any era. I think he is the most dominant basketball player of all time.
Wilt Chamberlain is one of the greatest NBA players to ever play the game, with 2 championships, 4 MVPs, stats that make you double check to make sure you're not going crazy, and countless NBA records to his name. But many NBA fans like to brush off his achievements simply because of the era he played in. So let's find out how good Wilt Chamberlain actually was.
He's going to the basket.
Deep, there's Wilt to block the shot. Boy, Wilt blocked that nicely. Wilt playing another tremendous game. Wraparound pass. The Globetrotters are here and jumping in. Great play for the big man.
Wilt Chamberlain might be a basketball alien. People say that Victor Wembanyama is an alien for his insane length, coordination, and skill set for being 7'4". But what if I told you we've already seen this, just in a different era? Wilt Chamberlain was a 7'1", 270-pound big man that was almost always the fastest, most agile, and highest jumper on the court by a long shot. Wilt Chamberlain was rumored to be able to bench 500 pounds, better than most professional powerlifters. He was rumored to run the 100-yard dash in under 11 seconds and had a vertical leap around 40 to 45 inches. The guy was an animal. Chamberlain averaged 45.8 minutes a game for his whole 14-year career and even averaged more than 48 minutes a game in a season. Yeah, an NBA game is 48 minutes in length, by the way. He did this all while wearing Chuck Taylors, playing in the fastest-paced era in NBA history, while giving effort on both floors. 95% of centers today would get absolutely gassed from one of Wilt Chamberlain's games. I mean, they would probably need 2 games of load management to recover. Wilt Chamberlain did this for several years without missing a single game many of those years. The one time where it came back to bite him was when he ruptured his patellar tendon in the 1970 season at the old age of 33. He returned about 4 months later while still being by far the most athletic player in the league while weighing north of 30 pounds. This guy was still athletic as a prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who is widely regarded as the 3rd best player of all time. But this just scratches the surface of how much of a freak basketball player Wilt Chamberlain was.
Knocked loose, Hurston back, Chamberlain slam dunk. Chamberlain gets away from Bowman.
Chamberlain again underneath.
On March 2nd, 1962, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points against the New York Knicks in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Pennsylvania. An achievement that still stands today. But what if I told you that this 100-point game might be the most breakable of Wilt Chamberlain's ocean of records? Yes, you heard me, this record might have a chance of getting broken. Over the last few seasons, we've seen some players come somewhat close to Wilt's 100. Luka Doncic had 73 points last January in a close win against the Hawks. Players like Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Joel Embiid, and Devin Booker have all had 70 or more points in a game. Giannis had 64 last year. Even Karl Anthony Towns had 62 last year. The closest thing we've ever seen to this being broken was Kobe with 81 points. But sorry to burst your guys' bubble, this record is still pretty much unbreakable. Wilt Chamberlain on the 2nd of March, 1962, shot a mind-numbing 63 shots and 32 free throws. The problem isn't that any of these players aren't good enough. I'm sure if a team was dead set on their star player breaking the scoring record, after about 40 attempted games of stat padding of your superstar and destroying your team's record in the process, one of those games your star would happen to catch fire and break 100. The real issue is that none of the stars in today's game get even close to the volume of shots that Wilt Chamberlain got that game. Wilt, on this magical day in 1962, broke the record for the most field goal attempts in a game at 63. The closest player to come to that, past the ABA and NBA merger, that's name isn't Wilt Chamberlain, was Kobe Bryant during his farewell game. On April 13th, 2016, Kobe Bryant took an absurd 50 shots that night, scoring 60 points. It's simply impossible to score even close to 100 points when you can't even get up the amount of volume that Wilt did. While getting up 63 shots is almost impossible in today's game, Chamberlain's 32 free throws is a little more achievable. The Big Dipper during the 100-point game notched the 7th highest free throw attempt mark by a single player in league history, only coming short to Dwight Howard twice at 39, Andre Drummond at 36, DeAndre Jordan at 34, Wilt a week before the 100-point game at 34 attempts, and Giannis at 32. But I don't think this record is completely untouchable. If the stars aligned and one of the league's best scoring superstars got hot one night and took over 50 shots a game, took about 30 to 35 free throws and made about 90% of them or so, and made about 7 to 10 three-pointers, then yeah, maybe Wilt's record might shatter. But do you know what's crazy? Like I mentioned earlier in this video, this is probably the most breakable of Wilt Chamberlain's records. While a superstar could just happen to get hot one night and break the record, what about scoring big every single night? I'm talking really big, like 50 points a night big. In the 1962 season, Wilt Chamberlain averaged a behemoth of 50 points a game. There's no one even close to Wilt Chamberlain's 50 points per game season, except himself the following year. The only other individual season that comes even close to Wilt's 50 a game in 1962 is Michael Jordan in the 1987 season, James Harden in the 2019 season, and Kobe Bryant in the 2006 season. And even they were still around 13 to 15 points short of Wilt. Of course, no one's coming close to averaging 50 a night in a season, but have players ever had stretches where they've averaged 50 points or more, or even close to it? Kobe Bryant in 2006 had a 4-game stretch, scoring 37, 51, 37, and 81, averaging 50.1 points over 4 games. Kobe also had another historic stretch the following season in 2007, where he had 65, 50, 60, 50, and 43 in a 5-game stretch where he averaged 53.6 points. Elgin Baylor, during the same 1962 season, averaged 38 points a game that year and had a 5-game streak where he scored 47, 63, 38, 52, and 52 points, averaging 50.4 points a game. Finally, peak James Harden in January of 2019 had a 5-game stretch where he scored 57, 58, 48, 37, and 61 points, averaging 52.2 points. This is the closest thing anyone has gotten to Wilt Chamberlain, averaging 50 points a game over 80 games. Chamberlain in the 1962 season has another scoring record that I can confidently say will never be broken. Wilt in 62 scored a whopping, and get ready for it, 4,029 points that season. If Wilt Chamberlain could hypothetically score this many points a season, he could surpass Steph Curry's point total in only 6 seasons. He could break James Harden's point total in 7 seasons. He could break Kevin Durant's point total in 8 seasons. He could break Michael Jordan's point total at the very beginning of his 9th season. He could break Kobe Bryant's point total in 9 seasons. And finally, he could break LeBron James's 40,474 points during his 11th season in the league. To get even more unrealistic, if a player hypothetically had the career production of 1962 Wilt Chamberlain while having the longevity of LeBron, he would have over 80,000 points in his career, twice as much as LeBron has right now. The next closest player to even graze Wilt's 4,029 points in 1962, besides himself, was Michael Jordan, who was only about 1,000 points off. Last season, Luka Doncic led the league in scoring with a total of 2,370 points. He's only about 1,700 points off, or about one 2024 Jaylen Brown away.
On the way, no good rebound. Wilt, there's 13 in the slam dunk basket. That's it. They ought to stop the game now. 65-42. They can't stop it now since he comes to attack. Archibald runs into a man. That'll be charging. Now they'll stop the game and give the ball to Wilt. 20,000 rebounds. You'll see it right here. You're making history with us tonight. Offensive foul is on Archibald. That's the 20,000th rebound for Wilt Chamberlain. Only one man in history has had more. 21.
You know, I have a pretty hot take that might make myself look like this in the comments section. You ready? Wilt Chamberlain's rebounding stats and records are more impressive than his scoring numbers. As a matter of fact, Wilt Chamberlain might be a better rebounder than he is a scorer. And hear me out. Over the course of NBA history, we've seen players eclipse Wilt's total points scored multiple times. We've seen players have a higher career scoring average than Wilt. We've even seen players put up Wilt Chamberlain-like scoring numbers despite playing in slower-paced and defensive-oriented eras. Not to take anything away from the offensive weapon that Wilt was, but no one even comes close to Wilt Chamberlain's rebounding numbers, and no one seems to talk about this. Chamberlain has by far the most rebounds in NBA history. He owns all of the top 7 seasons in NBA history for total rebounds. He leads the NBA in rebounds per game over the league's entire history, sitting at 22.9 rebounds a game. Besides Bill Russell, no one even comes remotely close to the Big Dipper. Wilt holds 6 of the top 7 seasons of highest rebounds per game. On November 24th, 1960, during the start of Wilt Chamberlain's second season, he put up a record so ridiculous, I don't even think you could recreate it in 2K if you tried. While playing against Bill Russell and the Celtics in the prime of their dominance, Wilt Chamberlain had a stat line sent from outer space, 34 points, 4 assists, and 55 rebounds. Yes, 55. He almost had 3 times the amount of boards that Bill Russell had in this game, who's in contention for the GOAT rebounder. In the same season of 1961, Wilt Chamberlain broke the record for the highest rebounds per game during a season, averaging 27.2 boards. That's more rebounds per game than Domantas Sabonis and Rudy Gobert combined, the league's 2 best rebounders. During that same 1961 season, Wilt also put up 2,149 rebounds, also more than Sabonis and Gobert combined. The man was just unstoppable on the glass. No one in the league had the strength, vertical leap, or athleticism to keep Wilt away from the boards. I mean, 27 rebounds a game during your rookie year is absolutely ludicrous. When looking at the history of the league, no one has been able to match Wilt Chamberlain's rebounding dominance. Taking a look at every single player who's led the league in rebounds per game, Wilt Chamberlain just sticks out like a sore thumb. From 1950 all the way until 2024, regardless of which era, Wilt is just in a class of his own. Even players with specific roles on their teams to mainly rebound the ball, guys like Andre Drummond, DeAndre Jordan, and Dennis Rodman, weren't even close to Wilt. Chamberlain has more rebounding champs, or seasons where he led the league in rebounds, than Michael Jordan has seasons leading the league in scoring, or that John Stockton has leading the league in assists per game.
Wilt spins around his defender, and 47 and 48. Into Wilt. Goes in and scores. Wilt working against, and Russell goes over with a finger roll.
In 2024, Nikola Jokic won the MVP, averaging 26 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, and about a steal and a block a game. Jokic did this while playing a hair under 35 minutes a game. Pretty good stamina for the big man. As a matter of fact, all of the top 10 MVP candidates in 2024 had a combined average minutes per game of 35.6. So about 3 of the 4 quarters of the game, these stars were on the floor. Wilt Chamberlain in the mythical 1962 season holds one of the various records that will almost never get broken. Wilt Chamberlain in 1962 averaged 48.5 minutes a game that year. There isn't even 48 minutes in the game, by the way. Wilt Chamberlain, of the 80 total games he played in 1962, did not touch the bench for 79 of them. There was a better chance of seeing Wilt Chamberlain play over 48 minutes in 1962 than under 48 minutes. The only game where he played under 48 minutes was in the 39th game of the regular season, January 3rd, 1962, where Wilt Chamberlain got ejected for fighting and only played 40 minutes. The Big Dipper played 7 games where he played more than 48 minutes. He even played games where he played a whopping 63 minutes, where he also happened to drop 78 points. This guy was unreal. But let me ask, has anyone in the modern day even came close to the same ballpark as Wilt Chamberlain in the minutes department, even for brief stretches of their career? Chamberlain over his career averaged 45.8 minutes a game. While I don't think anyone is matching Wilt's 1962 minutes, we've seen some players in stretches put up Wilt-type minutes. Allen Iverson is a player in the modern day that really sticks out, not only just for his wizard-like handles, but for the sheer amount of minutes this guy was playing in his prime. Iverson was consistently leading the league in minutes per game, 7 times actually. He was routinely playing north of 40 minutes a game his whole career. In the 2001 playoffs, Allen Iverson averaged 46.2 minutes a game for 22 straight games. Let's just say the 76ers really needed this man. Whenever he came out of the game, it was chaos. Another example we could use is LeBron James. This guy was routinely playing 40-plus minute games for Cleveland in the 2000s, while keeping his minutes per game over 35 a night, going into his 40s, while not having any significant injuries in his career. But who are we kidding? This record will never be broken. No one's even going to come close. In an age where NBA superstars are treated like fine china, stars will never come close to averaging more minutes than there are in a game. They won't even break 40-plus minutes. With the prevalence of load management, deeper benches in 2024 that are capable of handling the extra minutes, unlike in Wilt's day, less overtime periods in the modern day, up-to-date exercise science that tells coaches and managers 9 times out of 10 to rest their players for more efficient play, and the play style of the modern NBA, which requires players to cover more ground while being more agile. This record is pretty much untouchable.
Behind Lucas, screen, now he's double-teamed. Bradley on a run and hook, misses. Chamberlain gets his second rebound. Jerry West feeds to Chamberlain.
1,045 games played. Over Wilt Chamberlain's 14-year NBA career, he's played in quadruple-digit games. And do you know what's crazy? Over these 1,045 games, do you want to guess how many of these times he fouled out? 0. This guy's never fouled out even once. While other NBA legends tend to stay out of foul trouble to keep their team afloat, no one quite has a record of this like Chamberlain. Michael Jordan only fouled out 11 times during the regular season. LeBron James fouled out 6 times. Kobe Bryant fouled out 18 times. Magic Johnson only fouled out 3 times. Larry Bird only fouled out 5 times. Tim Duncan fouled out 17 times. Shaq only fouled out, well, a lot. But to think that Wilt Chamberlain was the man in the middle for over 45 minutes a night for his whole career and never managed to rack up 6 fouls. But to be fair, let's throw in some more big men on here for comparison. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fouled out 11 times in his career. Bill Russell fouled out 24 times. Patrick Ewing fouled out 49 times. David Robinson fouled out 29 times. Moses Malone only fouled out 11 times. Dwight Howard fouled out a total of 67 times. And the man with the most games logged in NBA history, Robert Parrish, only fouled out 39 times. This Wilt Chamberlain record really got me curious. What are the mathematical odds that Wilt Chamberlain never fouled out even a single game during his career? When we take the average of 2.49%, or the odds of a player fouling out, particularly a big man with a very large sample size of games played, so I just took the average of the 7 bigs we just looked at. Of the total 8,221 games they've played, and the 205 total times they fouled out, it comes out as 2.49% of players of Wilt Chamberlain's type to foul out in any given game. So let's call it 2.5% for simplicity. Now let's do a little math here. The probability of a big man not fouling out is done by subtracting 1 from 0.025, which gives us 0.975. And then we put the amount of games Wilt Chamberlain played as the power. So the probability of Wilt Chamberlain never fouling out in his whole career is this number, or about 0.00000000323% chance of this happening, or about 1 in 309 billion odds. To put this wild occurrence into perspective, winning the lottery is significantly more common, with 1 in 292 million odds. As a matter of fact, you could flip a coin 38 times in a row and get heads every single time, and it would still be less rare than achieving Wilt's record of never fouling out in 1,045 games.
Pro basketball's finale for the NBA title. The Philadelphia 76ers, wearing black uniforms versus the San Francisco Warriors. Wilt Chamberlain feeds a teammate for 2 points. The heavy scoring made it a seesaw battle till the final period. Wilt the Stilt racks up 24 points and 23 rebounds. It'll be Philadelphia's first title in 11 years, and Wilt's first in his 8-year pro career. The 76ers win by 3 points. The glory and the NBA title, all theirs.
During the early days of Wilt Chamberlain's career, he solidified his case as arguably the greatest player the game had ever seen at the time. By the time his Philadelphia Warrior days were done, he proved that he was the greatest scorer of all time, the greatest rebounder of all time, and the greatest athlete the game has ever seen, with alien-like speed, strength, and agility for a 7'1", 300-pound big man. But there was just one thing missing. Wilt Chamberlain had never won a championship. It was really the one thing missing from his all-time great basketball resume. While Bill Russell was widely known as the inferior player to Chamberlain, both physically and talent-wise, Bill Russell and the Celtics got the better of Wilt and the Warriors in the early 60s. Now, this might shock a lot of people, but what if I told you that Wilt Chamberlain's out-of-this-world scoring numbers were actually diminishing his chances of winning a title? Yes, you heard me right. Wilt Chamberlain dropping 50 a night like it was nothing was actually hurting his team's odds of winning a chip. Crazy, right? Well, I have some numbers to back it up. Right here, we have a chart that shows the shot attempts that Wilt Chamberlain put up compared to his team's offensive ratings. How does Wilt's usage rate on offense lead to his team's performance? To start us off, the dots in pink represent Wilt's days with the Warriors, the stat sheet stuffing Wilt days. As we can see, Chamberlain is near the top of this graph in shot attempts, shooting in the 30s and even close to 40 shot attempts a game during this stint. As we can also see, Wilt Chamberlain is near the bottom of the x-axis, or offensive team rating, so his teams weren't doing that great. Fast forward to his 76ers days, or the dots in blue, we can see Wilt's scoring numbers were starting to drop off a little, but his teams were getting better. Finally, the yellow dots represent Wilt's days with the Lakers. His production was really starting to go downhill, but he was on the best teams of his career. Wilt Chamberlain won 2 championships during his career. I want you guys to guess, out of all of these dots, which 2 years were his championship years. Yeah, that's right. The 2 seasons near the bottom right of this chart. Great team offense, not as great Wilt offense. Coincidence? I think not. As Wilt Chamberlain took more shots for his teams, it limited the productions of some of his other teammates, especially earlier in his career, because Wilt Chamberlain actually had some decent teammates with the Warriors. Teammates like Guy Rogers, sharpshooter Paul Arizin, and Tommy Gola were all really good players that got overshadowed by Wilt. As soon as Chamberlain and the Warriors played against a smart team in the playoffs, like, I don't know, maybe the team that has 11 rings in that era, teams that can actually game plan to stop Wilt in the playoffs, Chamberlain didn't know how to respond. Now, this section isn't just me bashing Wilt for being selfish, but I think these different evolutions in his career actually show how versatile the Big Dipper truly was, and I don't think most people appreciate it. When Wilt Chamberlain got traded to the 76ers, the coaching and management realized what I just explained to you guys, that Wilt Chamberlain shooting a ton of shots wasn't leading the team wins and playoff success. So 76er head coach Alex Hannum challenged Wilt to lead the league in assists in 1968, and we saw something amazing happen. Not only did Wilt actually successfully accomplish this challenge, beating out legendary point guards in total assists like Lenny Wilkins, Oscar Robertson, and Dave Bing, but he also maintained his bread and butter, scoring and rebounding. Wilt Chamberlain led the league in assists, led the league in rebounds by far, and was a top 3 scorer in the league, a feat that's nearly impossible. When looking at all-time great players throughout the league's history, many of them have been able to lead the league in 2 of 3 categories, but almost always have to sacrifice the third one. Well, except Wilt Chamberlain. Some players have gotten close though, like Wilt's biggest rival for unreal stats, Oscar Robertson. The Big O was a player of many skills, starting as early as his rookie season where he ranked 3rd in points, 1st in assists, and 14th in rebounds. The season after, in 1962, Robertson ranked 3rd in points, 1st in assists once again, and finished inside the top 10 for rebounds. In 1963, he placed 3rd in points for the 3rd straight year, placed 2nd in assists, and 11th in rebounds. After the reign of these 2 titans, it wasn't until about 40 years later where we saw a player with even close to the same versatility on offense. LeBron James is considered the greatest Swiss Army knife of all time. The guy has close to 0 weaknesses in his game. In his 2nd year in the league, LeBron was dicing up the association, coming in at 5th place in scoring, 5th in assists, and 29th in rebounding. About a decade and a half later, LeBron also came close, coming in at 8th in scoring, 1st in assists, and 22nd in rebounding. But it wasn't until the last 5 to 8 years where we've seen some of the all-time great Swiss Army knives, players that can do everything on offense at an elite level, Russell Westbrook with the Thunder was the pinnacle of this, averaging a triple-double in both 2017 and 2018, and even more seasons. But these two stand out because Brody in 2017 placed 8th in scoring, 8th in rebounding, and 2nd in assists. Truly remarkable. And in 2018 he did it again, placing 4th in points, 6th in rebounds, and 1st in assists. But over the last 4 seasons, we've seen the takeover of European stars that do it all. Nikola Jokic in 2021 and 2022 never placed outside the top 6 for total points, rebounds, or assists. In 2023, his scoring went downhill a little bit, but his rebounding and playmaking were still top-notch. And 2024 has been nothing but the same old Jokic. Domantas Sabonis is a really rare breed of players where he actually placed top 5 in both assists and rebounds over the last 2 seasons, but it's actually been his scoring that isn't on the same level. And we can't forget about Luka Doncic, averaging 34, 9, and 9 last year, with point totals that look like this. But of all of these players, none of them can crack the top 3 in every category like Wilt did. And that's just one more reason why you won't believe how good Wilt Chamberlain actually was.